to make a simple enemy. I'm going to do these in separate videos from now on. So coding and creating the enemy. Now some of these things you may be able to figure out how to code yourself if you are doing the coding. But just to give you some ideas, there's different ways to create an enemy. So I'm going to do it for the platformer one first. So I'm just going to remove this little guy here from my test room and add in the platform guy and just test to make sure that he still works. Oops, it's the wrong room. I've actually made two test rooms now, so one is test room 2. Whichever one is at the top will be the one that starts the program. So I've got that, spacebar jumps, and I can double jump, and space shoots left or right. Okay, we'll do some mouse aiming later on. Okay, so let's create a sprite for our bad guy. Edit sprite, create a new sprite. The bad guy can be 16 by 32, same height as our character, and he's going to be purple. SPR bad guy. And I'm also going to need another sprite, just a little kind of a marker. This is very simple AI. It's not really proper AI. We'll look at some more intelligent stuff in the next video. But I'll create a sprite, SPR marker. And this is just going to be small. It's just going to be maybe 8 by 8. Click OK. And I'll make it a really bright color. I might actually just make it white. You will have to fill it with white because I'll just undo. See, if I zoom in, you can see that that's transparent when it's, if I zoom all the way out, it looks like it's white there. It's actually the transparent color. That's white. So I'll click that, click OK. Create 2 more objects. OBJ, bad guy, using that sprite. And another object, OBJ, marker, using my marker sprite, and that's going to be solid. I may actually not want that being solid in the end. We'll see what happens. Okay, so for my bad guy, add event, create, I'm going to make him move fixed in a random direction. And the way that I pick random is either by picking left or right here. Make him move speed 4. So when he starts, it's going to pick one of these 2 directions to move in and start moving at speed 4. When he collides with the marker, he's going to reverse his horizontal direction. And that's it. He doesn't need to reverse the vertical because he's not moving. He's just going to reverse the horizontal direction. Now this is pretty much all I should need for my bad guy. I just have to make sure that I put them at proper places. So if I have my marker, I'm going to put that here. I'm going to use Alt to place these because they're actually snapped to the grid, and I just want to place it so that he moves that way. And I'm going to place my bad guy on this platform like that. And I'm going to do the same for down here. I might actually have 2 bad guys and 2 markers. So there's going to be a marker here and a marker here. And let's hit play and see what happens. So now I've got those guys traveling backwards and forwards between those 2 markers. Now I don't really want to be able to see the markers, and at the moment nothing happens. Good. No, I don't want those markers to be solid, otherwise my guy gets stuck in them. So nothing happens when I collide with the bad guy at the moment. But you can see that that is clearly working. Okay, so they're bouncing backwards and forwards. We want to get to the marker and make sure it's not visible. So we just tick that button and it won't be visible anymore. Okay, but you can see that they're still bouncing off that. So it looks like they're patrolling those platforms or that area down the bottom. See, these guys are both going in the same direction this time. It's going to be a little bit random because when I run it this time, you can see that they're going in opposite directions. And so they're passing each other rather than following. And so that's just the result of using this to start moving in a direction. Now let's add some stuff here. In the object bullet, we want to say what happens when it collides with the bad guy. Well, we want to destroy the bad guy, so destroy other, and we want to destroy self. So we don't want the bullet to keep traveling through. We go to here. If I jump and shoot, bad guy dies. You can't see that down there. Bad guy dies. Now, I want to make sure we're going to put all of this stuff together soon, and explosions and other animations and things shortly. But what we want to do with the bad guy, or even with this platformer guy, but it's probably best to do it just with the bad guy, is to add event collision with the player. And now I could do it on the other one, but I wanted to destroy other. I want to then pause for just a second. Let's see, where's pause? Sleep. Sleep for 1 second. And then I should be able to reset the room. Should be an option to reset the room. Restart room, that's this one here. I'm going to restart the room. I can put a little transition on it if I want. Rotate left. So now if I jump and hit that guy, nothing happens, probably because I'm using the coded version. No, object platformer. I've told it the wrong one. Let's change this. Collision with object platformer. So now when I collide with that, it pauses for a second, then it restarts. And it's got a cool little transition effect when it comes out. Now if I wanted to do it with lives, that's something we'll look at later on, but some of you can probably figure out how to do it with lives. You would have a lives variable. You would store the starting location of the player, and so when it collides with that, you'd subtract 1 from lives and reset the player to its starting location in the room. And you'd also have a check if lives are less than 0. So if on 0 we lose our last life, then we go to the game over screen. So it's not complicated to figure that out. If you can just think the logic behind it, what you actually want to happen, and then put it into code, or drag and drop. So to do this in code, object bad guy is pretty much going to be, I'll just put the code in here and delete the other ones. So if you're happy with the bad guy on this one, that's it, that's done. We're going to look at some code now. So you don't need to stick around for this bit. What we're going to do is pick random, I think. We'll go dir equals, so dir is just a variable that I'm defining. I can't use direction because that's already an existing variable. Dir equals random, and I think I can do it from 2. If dir equals 1, direction equals 0, else, I don't need to check if it equals 2, direction equals 1. 180, which should be left. So this is going to pick a random direction. So if dir is going to be a random number between 1 and 2. I'm not entirely sure how this works. It could be between 0 and 2. And I'm not sure if it's inclusive. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's still going to work. If it's not inclusive, what that means is the numbers are either going to be 0 or 1. It'll never be 2. It's between 0 and 2. If it's inclusive, it means it could be 0, 1, or 2. But I'm not sure, like I said, if it starts at 0 or 1. It's something that you'd have to have a look up in here. So random returns a number between 0 and x. The number is always smaller than x. Okay, so that's good. It's either going to be 0 or 1. And so I set the direction of the bad guy to either 0 or 180. So that's the create bit. And that's exactly the same as what I'm doing here. And then finally I set the speed equals 4. Maybe speed equals 3 if I want it to be a bit slower. So let's just check that that works. Okay, that works. And I'll run it again just to see if they move in different directions. It is random, so they may not. Doesn't look like they're doing it. I might have to go 3 because I'm not sure it actually starts at 0, and so maybe only picking 1 every time. Let's just run it a few times. Well, we'll assume it's working and we'll figure it out later. So that looks like it's working. If dir equals 1, else speed equals 3. There is a random range as well. So random range, it might be random underscore range. And I give it 2 numbers, 0 and 2. Let's check if this works. The code's working, we'll figure that out later, why it's not actually moving in a particular direction. If direction equals 1, I know what the problem is, I didn't have the comparison there. Okay, so be aware that if I type that in, it's always making direction 1, that's why they were always going in the same place. If dir equals 1, is equal to 1, that's the 2 equal signs. Some of you may have picked that up. And they're still going the same direction, but hopefully I'll just run it and see if I can get it to work. No, okay, that's really weird. I'm not sure why it's not doing that, but that code is correct. That should work. We'll sort that out soon. Alright, so this bit here is pretty straightforward. We want to have, so we want to destroy the instance. We want to go other dot instance underscore destroy. Okay, so the other is the object that it's colliding with. So when it collides with the platformer, other dot instance destroy. Sleep, and we want to sleep for 1000 milliseconds. Room underscore restart. It should be. Yep, restart. So this is pretty much exactly the same as what we've got there, the 3 drag and drop things, just the equivalent. Okay, so this one here was other. And object marker, when it collides with the object marker, h speed equals negative h speed. We could do that, or we could just do direction equals negative direction. Problem with that is there's no such thing as negative 0. So direction equals 180 minus, or direction minus 180. Now, so if it's 180, it's going to be equal to 0. If it's 0, it's going to be equal to negative 180, which will convert into positive 180 because it converts it when it comes to directions. So let's check that and see if it works. So object, I've got an error in here. Let's see, other dot instance destroy. We'll just put in obj platformer. dot instance destroy instead. I thought that other should work. Variable name expected. Instance destroy other, maybe. Wrong number of arguments. Can't figure this one out. Sometimes it's best to just, like I said, leave it if you can't figure it out. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with GameMaker, so a lot of this stuff I'm just doing and kind of learning as I go. And so we'll just throw this one in here. Instant destroy other. I'm not sure why it's not working in the code, but the other bit should work. Okay, so these guys are swapping backwards and forwards now. They're reversing their direction. They still don't seem to be randomized down the bottom. Not sure why that is, but if I hit them, pauses for a second and restarts. I don't get a cool transition doing it this way though. So the other way may be more favorable to you. The bullets, collision with the object bad guy, destroy the instance. I really don't think there's any need to do everything in code. Just make it more complex.